worst thing that could have happened to me, the worst that could have happened to me was I would come to Lagos, I would take the role, I would take the offer. It would turn out that I am not ready and I will go back to where I'm coming from. I won't die. If I fail, failure is not the end. 4 years ago, I had a career-changing opportunity, but I nearly sabotaged myself and talked myself out of taking that opportunity. The reason will surprise you even more. So in 2024 January, we started this conversation with my brother-in-law, who had mentioned that there's an opportunity to lead the compliance department of a company. But that conversation did not proceed until, a month later. And while I was waiting, unsure that they were going to get back to me, my wife and I started a business. And somehow, the business was beginning to take off. This was around April to June. So by June, he came back, my brother-in-law that is, and the company came back. But I needed to sit in for an interview, pass the interview before I get the offer. So it became obvious that this was a possibility, And so I began to ask myself if I thought I was ready to proceed. And I concluded that, I don't think I'm ready to proceed. I made up my mind to sabotage myself by showing up for the interview without preparing. I couldn't tell my wife that I wasn't going to show up for the interview, and I didn't want to disappoint my brother-in-law. So I decided that I was going to sabotage myself, show up for the interview without preparing. When I failed the interview, I would have justification for not relocating or taking the job. 3 days before the interview, when I woke up that morning, there was a conviction within me. As a Christian, I know that it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me through my mind. And the conviction was like, guy, don't be so proud, foolish and stupid at the same time, that you will show up for an interview without preparing. Don't you think that is misrepresenting who you are and the God or the faith you represent? I knew immediately that was my cue to prepare for the interview, and prepare I began to do. Eventually starting for the interview, about 2 days later, I was sent an offer letter. So the offer came and I was so excited. But with the excitement also came dread. I began to dread the reality that I was going to relocate with my entire family. First thing I thought was, why would I sacrifice certainty? This is a new business and it was looking promising for something I am not sure of. Mind you, 2 years before that, I didn't even know anything about regulatory compliance. So it was still a very new environment for me to play in. What if I can't handle the responsibility that would be handed over to me? What if I failed at that responsibility? And that fear made me begin to doubt myself. Secondly, like I said, I did not want to come to Lagos because I've always dreaded Lagos. But one important question I asked myself, the day before I accepted the offer was, why do you want to stay in Jos? And I realized that my singular reason for staying in Jos was because I had certainty. I was comfortable. It was convenient. I did not need to do much. But Lagos was posing to me a bigger challenge. As a Christian, I believe that I should do things by faith. Faith asks me to step into uncharted territories. But fear says I should stay back in the city of Jos. So it was a choice between fear and faith. And that was it for me. I decided to step in by faith. So why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this for 5 reasons. 1, mediocrity dresses up in contentment. You need to test your contentment. Is it that you're contented or you are satisfied with mediocrity? Because mediocrity can sometimes dress itself up in contentment. What I thought was contentment was simply me being satisfied with playing in the little league, playing in the small leagues. And with all due respect, but if you're a young person, as much as Lagos has got a lot of stress, but there's an economic value to the city of Lagos that any young person who is determined, any young person who wants to grow in their professional career, especially in that kind of industry I play in, you may have to take up the challenge. I am not really suggesting that everything has to be in Lagos. However, there is an economic value that Lagos holds in a person's career, and you may have to go and test the waters there. The second thing I want to say is that, contrary to what we've been taught, fear is a positive signal to lean in a decision that makes you tremble. Anytime a decision scares you, that is the decision to take. One lesson I learned in this story is never show up for an opportunity unprepared. It is better not to even show up than to show up for an opportunity unprepared. If you ever show up for an opportunity unprepared, you are doing yourself a big disservice. You are misrepresenting what you stand for. So never show up for an opportunity unprepared. The fourth reason why I'm sharing this is fortune indeed favors the brave. Fortune favors the brave. There is so much at the end of audacity. Whenever you make an audacious move, you will eventually find life rewarding you for being audacious. Life rewards audacious people. Life rewards audacity. Fortune favors the brave. Every time you take an audacious step, you will find out that life will reward you. That's the fourth reason why I'm sharing this. The fifth and the last reason I'm sharing this is don't be afraid of failure. If I had allowed fear to have stopped me, I would not have known the things I have known right now. Did I need to learn more? Did I need to grow? Were there challenges on the job? Yes, there were. Was I threatened? Yes, I was threatened. Did I feel fear? Yes, I felt fearful. However, stop being afraid of failure. Face your fears. The worst thing that would have happened to me was that I would take up the job and they would say I didn't do well and maybe give me a sack letter, But I would not even know my capacity if I never tried. So don't be afraid of failure. And this is the end of today's episode. This is episode 6 of how I broke into compliance. If you gain any insight from this, why don't you go ahead and take the next step? Subscribe, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm know that there's value in this and help other people to see this. And then leave a comment. I want to know that this has been beneficial to you. I am Ajamu Oluwaseun. See you next time. Bye for now.